Right now, as you can see in the game, we've been doing probably anywhere from 75 to 100 frames. It's very up and down, very, very roller coastery. Now, I think a question that's probably on a lot of folks' minds is what is that performance, right? What does that look like? So here is a look. The game's running right now, as you can hear it in the background. Here's a look of the kind of resource utilization. Now, I would say for a game like this that's on an Unreal Engine, you want one of two things. You want almost in a really optimized experience to see your GPU load somewhere around 99%, right? You want this handling all the computations, all the big load, taking up all the VRAM, so that way you can reduce some of the resource usage in, say, your actual memory or your CPU utilization. Now, if there's a bottleneck or there needs to be some sort of balancing, you'll kind of see load pick up on specific sides at different points, right? Because more data is making it through at one point and vice versa. So 67 CPU is a lot on top of 90% GPU utilization. And I'm obviously using a lot of wattage as well. So RAM utilization actually isn't that bad. I've seen games like Warzone completely obliterate that. Tarkov obliterate that. So I wouldn't use this as like your finite. This is all in be all. So to cut the volume down and just to zoom in, recap one more time. There's definitely some optimization opportunities. GPU utilization could actually be increased to help bring down some of the CPU utilization. Seeing both of these this high is really explains why we're seeing frames jumping like all over the place. And then of course the RAM utilization actually it isn't that bad. So there's some good areas, some bad areas, but one thing I do want to point out too is again the game is on maxed out settings. This is as high as you can possibly go. So I think honestly, for a brand new release, not bad. You know, I heard somebody ripping on the game on a YouTube video. I think it was a couple days ago or today, Abel or whatever, and he was like ripping on it. And what's crazy is he has a 380 build. I got one right next to me, and I know for a fact it will run the game just fine. Maybe needing to turn a couple things down, but he was proclaiming that he had to literally play the game on like its absolute lowest settings, and I just don't believe it. I got a pal. We played all day yesterday, and he is running a 3060. All right, so it's like more than capable. For you folks out there who might be like still using your 2080 supers with like an i5 processor, it's time. Honestly, it's been time for you for a while, right? Higher end games that started, Apex after the Unreal Engine update, Modern Warfare after the newest release. I mean, these games are just eating resources. Even games that are on far less sophisticated engines or just less resource. I mean, I don't want to say that actually, because they're all equally resource dependent, but really they're just older, more obsolete engines that have less capabilities, right? So Unreal, Unity, Tarkov still runs like shit, and it's been out for 12 years, and you know what I mean? So I think the other thing that is really, really, really important is where the game is going in the direction of customization options and itemization options and the marketplace, right? So I think the number one gripe for a lot of people is, oh my god, NFT, right? NFT. But here's the reality. I have two questions for you. How does it affect you? And how is it any different than either Call of Duty and their loot box system, or the fact that some of the best weapons in Call of Duty are going to be tied into the Battle Pass? Happens every single time. And unless you play to unlock those Battle Pass weapons, you are not going to have access to, quote, meta guns. This puts players who don't play very frequently at a disadvantage. And honestly, it constantly forces people to dump buckets and buckets of playtime, right? You pay money for those things, but the most important takeaway from all of those pixels that you get so attached to, your Nicki Minaj's and your Snoop Dogg's, you don't own it. You quite literally, you don't own the skin. You don't own the pixels. In fact, you don't even own Call of Duty, right? You're paying for access to it over their client. And at any given moment, they can snatch that away from you. So what do you really own? All you people freaking out, NFT, oh my God, crypto, ah. This game has one of the coolest ways or spins at getting some of your items. I'm going to get into that in just a second, but I want to give one more comparison. And I've seen people on the Reddit, and I've seen all these dudes who think they're like scholars. They probably just graduated, and they got to sound extra smart on the internet. And they're busy telling you this sophisticated example of why this has no similarities to something like Steam Marketplace. And I would disagree, right? I think the only difference is blockchain, right? And the actual marketing approach in terms of ownership or valuation when it comes to assets, right? But the reality is the market, the actual business, in terms of my original question, how does it affect you, is exactly the same. If I went on and spent $2.50, if I jumped onto Steam right now and spent $2.50 on a Rust skin, there is a potentiality that 7 months from now, that Rust skin will value 10 to 20 times higher than what it's worth, right? That $2.50 skin is now $60, $70, $80. And I've had it happen time and time again. How many people floating around out there with a $400 Karambit that they paid $1 to get into a loot box? Not to mention, what about all the people who are opening a zillion loot boxes with nothing in return? Just junk and stuff that they already had over and over and over and over. In fact, that's actually more ownership to some degree, because at least you could sell those assets back into the marketplace, liquidate it, and go use it to buy other things. Now, that's where I start to kind of get into this game and how it does have similarities to that. And then obviously the difference is really just the blockchain. So in Off the Grid, what you end up doing is going into the game and you are looking for these boxes that are called hexes, and you're going to bring these hexes back in. So here's an example. I actually just got one while I was playing the game. And then there's these stations where you're going to have to place your hex into, and a timer goes down, right? And this is kind of like a big announcement on the map. Every game has it, right? Apex, Warzone, they all got something letting you know, hey, we're doing a little mini quest, whether it's you regenning your shields or typing into the computer so you can get a UAV or whatever it was on Warzone. This is the same. So I put it in. I'm red hot alert in the area for a minute or however long it takes. The higher the rating, the longer it's going to be. And then I bring it back to my base. We decode it. Okay. Now, what happens? This actually now becomes, to some degree, mine. Rule number one when it comes to video games: you don't actually own it. It ain't the 1990s anymore, y'all. You don't own anything, so get that out of here. But if we go back to the Steam analogy, right? If I paid my $2.50 or XYZ, I get XYZ skin in the game, and then I can bring that skin with me and sell it in the marketplace. And that's actually how it works. If I went to marketplace in the game and I went to weapons, for example, and I said, you know what, I really want to get a blue Casper, all right? And I can buy that gun, as you can see right here, for 688 tokens, which is actually pretty expensive, but that's for the highest or rarest version of it in the game, right? And then it goes down, and then there's no other offers for the simple guns, because most people are going to find those. It's not really worth selling. Okay? So this guns currency is the main piece to the puzzle. This guns currency is ultimately what's tied to the blockchain, and it's going to have money coming in and money coming out. And the only difference between this is the blockchain and the company that built it are the ones who are associated and own it. It's no different than, at the end of the day, if Steam banned your account tomorrow, they still technically own all your games. You never really have ownership. Okay. So I think what's really cool about this is I'm sure there's going to be a lot of artists, a lot of designers, people who are content creators, maybe Ninja being a prime example, had artwork put into the game, right? That is going to be a fungible token, and it will maybe or potentially increase in value, right? So you could play a lot and build up this credit, and it doesn't cost you a dime. Okay, it's absolutely free of charge. So the other thing that's crazy to me is the fact that people are like, "Oh my god," like someone's tying your hands behind your back and bringing you to your knees and saying, "Deal with it. This is how it is." You don't have to necessarily participate in the larger scheme of things, but at the end of the day, you will be contributing to the blockchain simply by playing the game. You know what you contribute when you play games like Apex and Call of Duty? Nothing. You whittle away your time and get absolutely nothing out of it the same way you're going to do in this game. All right. So stop worrying about what is it I get in return. You get a great gaming experience. Okay. Recap. You are looking for items to extract in the game called hexes. Hexes are then going to be extracted in the game into your loadouts. You can take them out of your loadouts by putting them onto the marketplace to get the gun's currency and use the currency to essentially build your own loadouts. Okay? Now, loadouts are exactly like you would imagine in a game such as Call of Duty, where obviously there is some pay to win aspect to it, but it's not as impactful as you think. Everything that is obtainable in their pay to win platform, which I'm going to get into in just a second, is obtainable by playing absolutely free. Is it going to take you longer? Yes, right? They're trying to squeeze playtime out of people and reward those who are not only putting money in via playtime, right? But also actual playtime. What's important in this game is you are essentially being rewarded for your playtime. I also think that's something that we're not really considering is the fact that you are going to have a lot more originality and individuality in this game because everything is broken down to the item. If I went to like armored fashion, there's things such as my tack vest. There's things such as the shirt or the backpack that I'm wearing underneath. Every little layer of your body is able to be customized, and you can find all kinds of cool colors and different patterns and schemes, and who knows, maybe there'll be cool like art contests in the future. I mean, the possibilities, the opportunities are endless, to be quite frank with you. So let me go ahead. I'm going to go back into the game. And we're going to kind of like walk you through what I was explaining about the game itself, right? And the market itself. Because I'm going to actually clip this up a little bit later and we're going to edit it into a YouTube video. Plus, I was a little bit all over the place so we can kind of get a little cleaner with it. So here we are. We're back in the game. And to essentially re-say what I said earlier in lesser words, your main goal in this game, other than your atypical battle royale and getting the dub, will be extracting items in the game. Items in the game have a value in a currency that's tied to the blockchain called guns. That's what you see in this upper right hand corner. Now, as you obtain these specific hexes, you are going to then extract them and sell them on the marketplace or use them in your loadouts if you want. But ultimately, you'll come to the marketplace and you'll be able to sell them for essentially like a market price, right? So as you can see, maybe you've played Tarkov and you're buying things with rubles, right? You've gone into the marketplace and you can see how much you can pay for that particular gun or weapon. And they have their own value. The more you play the game, you will generate this currency. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to pay any money. There's nothing that's tying you personally, financially, directly into the blockchain other than your playtime and essentially your Epic account. I will cover that in more detail, and we're going to have a bunch of video footage, and I will kind of strip some of the things that I was saying from my original explanation. The customization options, again, I'm going to re-dip on that because I actually was on the wrong screen and I want to kind of show everybody. If I went to appearance, you're going to see that every single bit of my character's aesthetic is able to be customized. Headwear, eyewear, outerwear, innerwear, jetpacks, legwear, footwear. The odds of you finding the exact same collection of items and putting them together are actually relatively low. And I think that's going to give you more unique individuality and just customization options for your characters, more than in any other game that you've ever played before. I'm a big fan. I really like it. I've already kind of ripped on the whole NFT thing, the fan base, and the misinformation. And this is kind of like what you see here when you go to the OTG Pro. So if any of you are seeing that Pro tag, this is what it looks like here in this bottom left-hand corner. But anyone who's seeing the Pro tag, these are just people who paid money. It's $11.99 a month. So yes, this is a live service, ladies and gents. Let me ask you a question. When is the last time that you have gone in and paid $60 and hated the game within 90 days? I'm sure it's actually probably happened to you a lot. Whether it be AA, AAA, studio, everybody has managed to produce some form of garbage for you to not necessarily feel like you're getting your value off of. I'll be honest with you. There's only a few games that have really managed to pass that 10-year threshold mark. And a lot of it does have to do with the fact they were a live service. Hell, RuneScape, which still looks like I'm playing in South Park with paper mache or something, has been one of the most played games for years. And it has to do with the live service membership. Or World of Warcraft, right? Everyone's seen that, heard that. It's lasted a generation. That's all due to a live service. When we think about companies like Activision who are working to please shareholders and so much more, wouldn't you want to have some kind of function or structure that can ensure A, you can finance this project to a complete finish, and B, you can keep it afloat? And I think that's what this business model is going to allow them to do. I'll be honest, Call of Duty has pretty much sneaked into getting you to pay for $60 a year. And if you think about it, all of their games are integrated and stacked on top of each other, and it's all one engine at the end of the day, and they migrate it as soon as the next one comes out. They have actually, in a backhanded way, tricked you into a live service, right? You're paying basically $5-6 a month for Call of Duty's live service when it all breaks down and you do the math on whatever you paid for your game. And they've increased the price of the game. What was this, $70 this year? So this is something that you got to think about if you're going to get upset and you're going to piss and moan and you're going to complain, especially if you're one of the thing that drives me crazy is a lot of these dudes are gamers who you've paid for the battle passes. You've played the Fortnites, you've played the Warzones, you've played the Apexes, and you're putting money into these things. Meanwhile, you're crying and whining that there's nothing getting better. Well, then when these indie games or maybe another AAA developer wants to come out and deliver something to you, you are the ultimate critic on these companies, and then you never give them a chance to flourish and grow. And I think this game is a prime example. Too many people, you're hung up on the NFT thing, and you got to get off of it and play the game for yourself. That's really it. It's a long-winded rant, but I wanted to kind of get that off my chest because it's just I've been reading a lot of the media lately, and I think it's it's getting the publicity it needs to after everything that's gone on. And again, I'm going to be chopping this up and making a YouTube video about it, so it seems a little all over the place. Don't worry about it, right? We're kind of just wanting to get on and stream today, but at the same time, get a recording in if possible. The other thing I think is extremely, extremely, extremely important is the performance of this game is rough. We already showed you the benchmark stuff earlier, and I'm going to edit that to kind of be at the tail end of the actual video. But the reality is it's on Unreal 5. The options are honestly limitless. This game has the top of the crop engine in order to future proof itself and make sure it's something that's long lasting into the future. And if anyone knows a thing about development, you usually want to go with something that's more popularized in open source. And when people do go open source or they go to these engines that are really, really popular, right? Whether it be Unreal or Unity, they're honestly just ripping off assets and not doing anything cool or original. I can go find every asset and freaking Escape from Tarkov on a Unity marketplace if I wanted to. When you look at this game, because of the fact that it's going with its own art NFT blockchain structure, it will again drive individuality in that area as well. Simply put, I think those are some of the positives that you're going to get out of it. Okay, so I've yapped for a good bit. We've got the benchmark stuff. We've needed to get an FPS monitored game. So what's going to happen now is I'm just going to play a game as is, and I'm going to let y'all take a look. I want you to see the performance for yourself. Stop listening to these YouTubers. Just see it for yourself. Now, again, the specs on my computer are not going to be a great example for the rest of the world, but I can't stress I've already tested this on a 3080, and my buddy has tested this on his 3060, and of course my other buddy had a 4080. No problems, and these are all pretty high-end cards. So is an upgrade probably important for you? Yes, but newsflash, a lot of Unreal 5 games are on the way. The finals came out. That was an Unreal 5 game, right? Y'all got to step it up. You got to get into the high-end gaming if you do not want to be upset. Otherwise, for the rest of you out there, this is going to be on PlayStation and Xbox. So if you're really going to whine and cry, go play your 60 FPS version and you'll have a good day. All right? Everything will work out. I get it. I know your systems can go up to 120, but this game is not doing it. If a 4090 ain't getting you there, I don't think your PlayStation is either. All right, so without further ado, what we're going to do, let's get FPS Monitor opened up. Hit yes on that bad boy. And I think was it F12 I set that as? F12. Okay.
Configuring drivers. The slam fist arm installed. Teammate revival needed ASAP. Teammate fatality detected due to flight pack non-use. Downloading drivers. Roadrunner's legs installed. Be advised, teammate has acquired Hex device. Hex extraction initiated. Armor fully loaded.
Heads up, you animals. The grid's about to overload. Not even Noah's Ark can save you now. Listen, what's that sizzling sound? You hear it? That's the sound of your fucking safe space shrinking.
Extraction 100%. Hex data transfer.
Someone's flipped the big
Extractor initialized. You have enough funds to call the drone. Installing drivers. The recon drone arm installed.
Hex is being extracted in Stork City. Don't just stand there. Go catch your breath. Shoot somebody in the face. The grid overload zone is on hold. Hey, sorry to interrupt.
Extraction successful.
Yeah.
Enemy zero sighted. Never mind.
Teammate injured. Teammate eliminated by enemy.
For all of you room temperature IQ assholes, don't let the grid touch you or you're dead. Got it?
Detached cyber arm detected.
Approaching.
Armor plates at maximum supply. Teammate redeployed. Left arm lost.
And are extracting the hex right now. hex extraction detected in Osea.
Vital signs improving. Alert, you are bleeding. Killed. Sufficient balance. Loadout drone available. Regeneration complete.
Alright, you double-headed idiots. We paused the grid over. Don't get excited though, you're probably still gonna die soon. Enjoy them while they last, because your respawns will soon be over. Warning. Zone overload imminent.
There's obstacle overhead. Launch impossible. There's obstacle overhead. Launch area obstructed. There's obstacle overhead. Launch area obstructed.
The grid overload is starting faster than you can say fucking noble. Rival hex extraction initiated in Osea.
Danger. Danger. Deadly overload imminent.
Hostile squad launched hex extraction in Osea.
Alert, you have zeroed yourself.
Useless rookie peak. Slow your row, you spineless shit.
And there it is, folks. Pretty much a wrap. We're gonna chop it all up, put it together, and give you our final perspective. But honestly, you can see things were relatively playable. We've got all the data, we got all the information that we need. Until next time, stay tuned.